Stidham, and
oh yeah, we can talk about that.
We are live, open season. Billy Allain, Justin Allain. We've got Alex Tordai in the number 3 seat. We got some pretty good stuff on the slate this week. Jared Stidham looks like he's going to be the Pats starter. Frank Gore looks like he's going to be joining the Jets at age 37. I mean, my God, he's done a tour around the AFC East. And we start to see some juicy stuff in the Bulls documentary. We start to see the Michael Jordan that you might not want to be like. And it was pretty crazy to see the $57,000 check, to see some of the characters that Jordan was hanging out with. And the way that the Jordan rules kind of broke down the Bulls, I thought was pretty interesting too. Sam Smith, that booked at that old guy that kind of talks weird with the side mouth there. But I guess for you guys, what was what was your biggest takeaway from the episode? Was it the check? Was it the dirtiness of him gambling?
I thought it was good for them to show the gambling stuff. I mean, I didn't know how in depth the media really attacked him during all of that. And it's just funny, how much different it is now compared to back then. Anything now is a major issue, and reporters are around him all the time. But back then, that was the talk of sports, was that issue, him gambling.
It still is the talk. It's amazing how this story and this side of the story, everybody still wants to know from this side, what actually happened. I feel like is this one of the biggest sports mysteries? I would say you've got to say so, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. It has to be one of the biggest sports mysteries. I don't think we're going to get to see him touch on that unless it comes in the very next episode on Sunday night. But it's something where you've got conspiracy theories. You've got him losing a loved one. You've got ex-mafia bosses talking about, hearing that someone had an issue with Jordan not paying his gambling debts, and that's part of what led to what happened to his father. It's just there's constant speculation over what really happened with the whole situation.
You want to hear something that I found out that was outside of this, though? What was when Jordan's father was missing, the family waited 21 days to alert the police or whatever to put in a missing persons request. There's just all kinds of sketchy stuff around this. I was reading something Jay Mariotti was pretty close to it, and he's put out some stuff, but I don't know. It was just something I was reading. I stumbled across, but 21 days to put out a lost persons. I don't know. It's just the Jordan thing and the gambling. It all kind of happened, and his father's death. It all happened in a pretty close window. And him leaving the spotlight, you could kind of see him making a case when he was saying that the reporters were too much. But I feel when you're gambling, that's all part of it. I mean, you can't he still went to another sport where he was still scrutinized just as much. So you can't say he didn't want the competition. He didn't want to be in the public eye. Because he still was he went to a AA team. He wasn't great anymore, but he didn't go and hide like a Dave Chappelle or anything like that. So it's what really was behind him leaving the NBA. I mean, it doesn't leave a lot aside from that gambling.
This episode this weekend is the one I've been waiting for. I want to know how much they're actually going to tell. Because all the other stuff, we pretty much know what happened. The Bad Boy Piston stuff. Some of the Robin stuff was new. Some of the Phil Jackson stuff we didn't know. But the Jordan stuff, we all have a good understanding for the most part. Instead of some internal team stuff that happened. But the gambling stuff, that's the biggest question mark. Why he left when he did and everything.
Right. If he's writing a $57,000 check to some golf hustler, what was his name again? What was that goofball?
Dude, the guy looked like Silky Johnson from like the like the player haters or whatever from like that guy with the freaking, what do you call it? That
Jerry
hairstyle, the Jerry curl, that thing.
That guy is awesome.
Oh man.
Once I saw him hanging out with that sketch ball, I knew something was up, right?
That was his security, apparently. Who's going to protect? Like, who's going to run those guy? How is he going to protect you?
Did you see how like much action Jordan just wanted all the time though? Like when he was throwing those, when those guys were throwing like quarters in the back, he's just like in his suit, like before a game, throwing quarters with like the security guys or whatever. Like I don't even know what game that is. It's like they had to throw something as close to whatever the dime was. I don't know, but it was just like he's got action with the freaking security guards out there. It's just like going from one gambling place to another. Like they said that he played 48 holes of golf before a Orlando Magic playoff game or something too. Like there's all kinds of stories. It's like you don't do that for the love of the game. Like you're pressed gambling. Like he's clearly like a bigger gambler than I think he wants to admit when he comes out and he says that he doesn't have a problem. I mean, seems like he definitely had a problem.
He also has an unlimited bank account too with those Air Jordans forever.
Yeah, what was the exact deal he got with the Air Jordans? So in the documentary, it said that Nike signed Jordan for $300K. He didn't even want to go to Nike. He was Adidas all the way. Didn't even want to go to Nike.
Yep.
That was the other biggest revelation I had. I didn't realize Nike was something that you spit at like back in the 80s. Like nobody was rocking Nikes. It was what was it? Converse
yeah.
And then Adidas, and then like Nike was way down below.
Converse was the shoe in the NBA in the 80s and 70s and 60s.
Yeah. Nike expected a $3 million return in year one from that $300K they gave him for the Air Jordans.
Yeah, and didn't they get like
$126 million in revenue in Jordans in year one after signing Jordan? Insane.
Simply amazing. Like you couldn't even project. Like he was just such an icon. He was part of like America. Like they were kind of showing it, but he was just part of like the American fabric. It was like America, Jordan. Like it was like Pepsi, Coke, Gatorade, all the endorsements.
Bird and Magic put the NBA like on the map, but Jordan just took it to a global level.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was watching something today where it was Ahmad Rashad, Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Bird, and Magic, and they're all chilling out playing poker, and they got into an argument over who had the best team overall. And immediately Bird's like, all right, Patrick, Charles, shut up. You guys never won a championship. And then Jordan and Magic and Bird are going at it, right? And then the conversation escalated from the best team to who's the best player. And Jordan was like, Jordan and Magic were going at it. Bird and Ahmad Rashad were kind of right there, like kind of listening in on these two go at it, right? And Jordan stands up and he's like, if you don't stop this argument right now, I'm going to bust y'all's asses every time I play you next season. And Bird's a coach at that point, I think, and Magic is Magic's still playing. And Bird looks at Magic and he just goes, Magic, me and you, we were then, Jordan is now. Our time has passed.
God, how bad was that for Tony Kukoc when he had to go against Jordan and Pippen trying their absolute hardest on like this young guy who's like, imagine if Jordan was pissed at you. Like if Jordan was motivated to shut you down, it was like Jordan and Pippen were going to shut him down, and they held him to like 4 points. Yeah. I think that he ultimately got their respect because he came back and scored like 20 and put up like 10 or something. He was kind of like the original Kevin Love, if you will, right? Like
he was awesome.
I was kind of like thinking about that. He would be so lusted upon in today's game. Oh my God, like a 6'11" big with skill.
Yeah, it's crazy too. Like the Jerry Krause thing, like whoever Jerry Krause, like Michael Jordan wanted to destroy, like that, like just like point guard or something on the Suns.
They loved making fun of They loved
Not
making
early.
fun of Krause.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's like, imagine like a player today doing that to a GM. Like, oh, we get to raise the basketball hoop for you, Jerry. Or like, Jerry, you want this cigar? You're gonna have to jump up to get it. Like, it was. They hated him with a passion, and for years, some of this stuff was in like the early '90s. They hated him.
Yeah, and he doesn't even get to say anything in this whole documentary, which is, obviously set. But, it's like he kind of comes out looking as like one of the worst people, and he doesn't get to say anything really. I feel like that's a shame. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is taking a huge hit to his stock. I feel like he looks absolutely awful. Like, nobody on the dream team liked him. I mean, did anybody know that? I mean, I didn't know that everybody basically hated him. I knew that Jordan didn't like him, but I didn't know that like everyone basically hated him. And I mean, for somehow that guy doesn't make the dream team. I mean, Chris Mullins over Isaiah Thomas. I mean, you gotta be kidding me with that one.
Yeah, that was nuts. It's just crazy, like the Jordan, like how much like leverage he had in the NBA, like from his late like right when they won their first championship through. It was like, this is Michael's league, and then there's no one even close.
David Stern like didn't even look at anything. Like when he got in trouble for when he was like gambling, like David Stern just like took his word for it. He's like, oh, he lost like 1.2 million, but that was Michael's money, and like because Michael was so rich, like it was on a different scale. Like if anybody else had lost 1.2 million or something, and it was pretty. That's why it's just like it's so hard to believe that Jordan didn't sit out because of the gambling thing. I mean, it's so hard to convince me otherwise. He's at the top of his sport, had just three-peated, and then he goes to baseball. It's like he didn't just go hide away. He's in the public eye, and I mean, I don't know. You just can't convince me that it was anything other than. Can you guys even think of like a reason that would like explain aside from like gambling that would make sense to you? Or do you think it's like all gambling?
I mean, I think Jordan's story, his story is like somewhat believable. There's definitely, a lot of him leading up to him taking that first retirement where he's talking about his love of the game of basketball, everything he's dealt with. Just that it's not even be like fun for him anymore, that it's hard emotionally for him to get up. I mean, this is the most famous guy probably in the world at that point in time, right? Is Michael Jordan. Universally loved for the most part, but having said that, with that came a lot of negative attention too, and eyes on him and questions. They went through his routine. It was like the guy could only hang out in his hotel room to get away, to escape. He couldn't go out to the bar and have some drinks without being flocked to and crowded. Like he just couldn't live anywhere near a normal life. Like you've seen the Dennis Rodman documentary. It's the same thing. Rodman, one of the most famous people on earth, could not live a normal life. He was completely different case than Michael, but it's just the quality of life, I think, wasn't there for Jordan. He wanted to make some sort of a change and go to the White Sox and start at a lower level where there was less attention. The White Sox were they're the second fiddle in Chicago baseball at that point. So I don't know, man. But I do think that Reinsdorf probably worked out some sort of a secret deal with him in reality to move him to the White Sox because he owned both teams.
Yeah, because like I heard he like never ended up like cutting his contract or something too with the Bulls. Like apparently they like kept his contract like in place or something too. Like I don't know. There were different things in place that don't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, if they greased the skids for him to join the White Sox, I wouldn't be surprised. It seemed like they would have committed murder in plain day for Jordan. I mean, the guy could do anything basically.
So like, he's just like the media was like too much. I mean, like Jason Tatum walking down the street like in Boston, it's like a big deal. And he might not be at like I'm not comparing him to Tatum, but like anywhere Tatum goes, he probably gets like swarmed. It's like a LeBron level, right? Where like anywhere he goes, he's recognized by everybody. But that's like every best athlete of every sport. Like I'm sure Brady deals with the same thing, LeBron, and it's just him saying this is like too much for me. And I think the one thing that was I didn't know about the political thing where he like didn't stand up for that Democratic governor, and everyone got so mad at him. But he just said, like, I don't want to be involved in this, and like, I don't understand what the problem was with that.
How about when he didn't want to have the Reebok sign showing, so he wore the American flag? That was so good. That was such a creative way to do it.
Yeah. I wish they did like one episode just on the Dream Team, like just them like practicing, like when they pick the team to everything, because there's probably so much more. Like that episode with Magic Johnson where he said, like, you better become Air Jordan or you're not going to win. He just destroyed everybody. Like, I wish they showed more of that, because they said the practices for those were just so intense. They were like actual games.
Yeah, and with Jordan talking trash to like Bird and Magic, like those games were like high octane.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to give away, like, they were basically on the NBA mountaintop, and they didn't want to give away the now to Jordan. So those games were like ultimately competitive. They said they would like switch Jordan from like the team that was winning to like the team that was losing or something like that. Like in practice, they used to do that, like with him, to like mess with him.
The big men for those the 92 team were just so crazy. It was like David Robinson, Karl Malone. But Czech wasn't on that. Who was like the center? Patrick, like, it's like, I know European basketball is different. It's not like more about the bigs. It's more about like shooting the threes. And I mean, I wish we could have watched those games live. It's like,
oh my God, I know.
Destroy, like the USA team's now like the Redeem team. Like that was a good team. That Dream Team would have destroyed them.
When they played like the competitive game against Croatia, they're like, Croatia was competitive in the second game. It was like 35-point loss, I want to say.
Yeah.
Like, and that was like a good effort by them, that like they were like respecting Tony Kukoc in that game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you kept it to 35? Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't lose by 70.
On average, they won every game in that tournament by 47 points. On average.
You know who actually was the best player on that team performance-wise was Charles Barkley. He averaged like 18 points. He led the team in scoring. He led the team in like 3-point shooting, actually. Like, he was hot from three, like randomly during that tournament.
So Barkley is literally the 90s Carmelo. Never got a ring, just came up and showed out the team.
You could honestly say that, yeah. And probably had so much talent, probably could have gotten more out of it, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy, too. Barkley, like a lot of young kids now, they just look at Charles Barkley on TNT, like this fat slob. And then you watch Charles back then. When he wwon the MVP over Jordan, like watching his highlights, he was a beast. And he was
that
only
year on
like
the Suns, where he won MVP, my God.
Yeah. And that team wasn't even good. Like Danny Ainge was the point guard. Like
that team was pretty good. They had Kevin Johnson. They had Dan Marley. That team was pretty good. That team made the finals like 93, 94 or something.
How about like Horace Grant not getting any shout out? Like they all hate this guy. And he's like, look at him now. He's jacked. He's huge.
Yeah.
He played in the NFL. Horace Grant was the number 3 on those early teams, and he was a damn good player.
Yeah.
They hate him.
He could play the Ben Watson role for us.
The oldest guy that can't get open.
Yeah, no separation whatsoever. But apparently he played on like a broken leg or whatever, or a torn leg.
That book that guy wrote and like kind of divided the team. You like think about it now. That's what like Seth Wickersham did to the Pats. Like somehow, some way, someone has to break the team up, and they feel like writing something like that will just.
And back then, it took like 6 years to write like a coverall, like a book that would cover it all and everything like that. Nowadays, somebody can just release anything on like Twitter, curb anything down. Like Dante DiVincenzo, I remember like he was having the game of his life in the national tournament, and they're already like bringing out tweets from when he was like 13.
Oh, that's the worst thing going. They need to cancel that. Stop picking up people's old tweets. I'm tired of it.
I hate that too. They should have an expiration date, like 7 years.
Shouldn't matter. If you're under 18, I don't want to see your tweet. You're a high school kid. Who knows what they're going through? Get it out.
It'll always be like, he quoted Tupac back in like 10th grade or something. It's like, oh my God,
Like if you're going in the draft, why don't you delete all these tweets before you're like going in the draft process? why do you leave those out there?
That's true. I feel like if I was a agent, I would so lock down my guys' social media. I'd be like, look, when you retire, you can have it again. But I mean, you're going to make a lot more money if you just shut up and say nothing.
Don't open up the can of worms with the NCAA not allowing players to have agents before they graduate. Don't go ahead and do that now, because that can be pointed. The finger can be pointed at the NCAA for that as much as it can be anyone, because these guys they don't have that type of guidance where someone's looking out for their financial sponsorship eligibility going forward. No one's really there necessarily, at least for the most part, to do that. So a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, he doesn't give a what about the tweets that he fired off 5 years ago when he was 14, 15 years old. If he had an agent there, he'd probably say, all right, the national championship game's coming up. Let's scrub your Twitter. Like, you're one of the hottest names in basketball right now.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you don't have like access. Yeah, it's like college doesn't actually get you ready for like the real world. Like, I feel like, they should be like, look, you like need to have an internship. You're going to like need to pay your bills. Like, all these like small things that like they don't really like we learn about like World Civ and like all these things, but we don't learn about what it is to like have a 401k or just you don't learn like all the things that about like life skills. You learn like all this BS kind of.
Yeah. And you know what the biggest thing happening in sports right now outside of COVID is? The biggest thing is the G League development from the NBA. We're seeing highly ranked prospects getting their own teams. They just gave a kid his own team in LA. I forgot his name. He's a 5-star prospect. I forgot where he was going to go instead. Doesn't matter. He's saying through the NCAA, I'm going to go play in the G League for a year. I'm going to get paid $500,000, have my own team in LA, and I'm going to go pro after that. And that's the biggest thing happening right now. It's going to cripple the NCAA. Wait for the ramifications after that first year of the G League, having all these kids coming in instead of going to play college hoops. They're going to be getting paid. Everyone's going to follow. It's going to cripple the NCAA.
And they were worried about like kind of getting good talent to the G League. But now to your point, it's like there's like you're getting top 5 guys that are going to the G League now. You have the ball kid that went there. You also had the other kid who was like going to be another top 5 pick. There's somebody who went to play for another team near like Australia or whatever, or another one of those teams over there. But it's just like you're getting all these number 1 prospects now to actually go over. Like you're not just getting guys that would have been drafted.
RJ
like
Hampton
RJ Hampton, yes,
RJ
New Zealand,
Hampton,
yeah.
Over in New Zealand.
So you're getting guys that are like in the top 5 potentially of like of the draft. So you're getting like the top caliber guys to go over there now, which is huge because now that's going to push so many people to do that. It's like, here's your path. You get 1 year, you get to bank, you get you're playing against grown men too. So not for nothing, it's helping your conditioning a bit from like taking that step up. You're playing against probably bigger people than you might play against in college. It's possible.
It literally took this for the NCAA to finally do something about it. And they're like, yeah, college athletes will get paid, but not till 2021. Why? Like, I don't – the NCAA has held this over athletes for so long. It, makes no sense whatsoever.
It's crazy some of the guys, like, when you think about it, like how much money Reggie Bush would have made or how much money, like, Johnny Manziel would have made. Like, some of these guys, if they could have cashed it, how much money would Tim Tebow have made if you could have made money in college? I mean, these guys, there's going to be now guys that can cash in like crazy. But
how much things Zion would have made last year?
Oh, I know.
He was bigger than most NBA superstars last year.
He seriously was. I think he made a great move going to Duke too. I mean, that was like a great school for his reputation. It put him in front of so many people. It took him from just being like a YouTube star to like actually showing like this is a guy that can play within an offense. This is a guy that can like get better as the season goes on. Like, I just think that did a lot for his stock actually. Like, it's rare that you go to like these guys are all trying to skip. It was pretty cool to see him like go buy into an offense like at Duke.
Didn't hurt to have R.J. Barrett on his team too.
No, or Cam Reddish.
Yeah,
Don't forget about Cam. He was pretty nice.
He was.
R.J. Barrett was a better prospect going into last year than Zion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like the number one prospect, wasn't he?
Yeah, they
RJ.
thought he was the next Harden. I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah. Well, he had an up and down first year. I mean, he got decent playing time. I think he was around like 12, 13 points maybe. I don't know.
Speaking of like the Knicks, like you went there and obviously it's a terrible franchise. Every big athlete in the NBA says, Madison Square Garden is my favorite place to play, of all places. They can't get anyone to play for them. Like LeBron, Jordan, Durant, they all say like it's my favorite place to play.
I know.
And look at the squad they roll out every year. And then they trade away Porzingis, their biggest star.
It's their favorite place to play once a year, apparently, because nobody will sign a long contract there, except for Melo.
Why isn't some like hedge fund, like billionaire in New York just write James Dolan a blank check and be like, "Can you just go away?"
They're the highest valued franchise in sports, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at $4 or $5 billion of valuation. It just doesn't make financial sense unless you're someone who literally has money to waste and you love the Knicks that much that you're willing to overinvest in a franchise to blow it up. But having said that, the hatred of James Dolan is so strong, the Knicks could actually even be undervalued for their true potential if you get a real ownership group in there. I mean, Dolan brought in Phil Jackson. The Zen master himself couldn't fix the Knicks. He drafted Porzingis, the best talent they've had since Patrick Ewing. And
they
what
ship
do?
him out.
They get Phil out of there, and they ship Kristaps out of town for a bag of Doritos. Outrageous.
My sister could tell you that you shouldn't trade Porzingis. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, how do you trade Porzingis? He was clearly the best talent that they had taken in so long.
Didn't he have it was like beef with his like brother, like family?
I think he was just pissed that they sucked. I'm pretty sure like they were not competitive, and
he probably wasn't going to resign anyways. But they got nothing for him. He's like no one else in the league has his talent at that size.
Oh, I know. He's like 7'2" or 7'3".
He's one of like 3 or 4 unicorns in the NBA now.
Yep.
He can move like nothing.
When they were rumored to talk to Celtics to get him, I was like, please give them whatever they want. I want Porzingis so badly.
Oh, I'd love Porzingis so much. That's going to be a hell of a combo that they have out in Dallas for some time. Having Doncic and Porzingis. Because Porzingis is probably going to be better this year too, I would say, because that's like 2 years off the ACL. Like usually that's when you do your best.
He was hitting like Steph Curry threes. He was hitting them from like 50 feet. He was like a 3-shooter this year. He wasn't like the guy down low or doing the fadeaway shots in the post. He was like a 3-shooter.
Yeah.
And he was putting up like when Doncic got hurt, he was putting up big numbers.
Good
and
for
they
him.
have a good coach. Who's the coach of the Mavs?
Rick Carlisle.
He's a great coach. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's a great coach.
He did get a ring.
Jim Carrey with a shaved head.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He's a great coach. He didn't deal with Rondo's bullshit. I'll tell you what, if Rondo bought into that Mavericks team, they might have had another title.
I can't believe we got a first-round pick for him.
I can't believe that his value decreased that much during that year. He was going to get like $100 million contract with the Celtics, and then he ends up playing for like 2 other teams. He played for the Mavericks, and who else did he? Didn't he play for another team that year?
Kings? No.
With the Pelicans, but that was...
But even the year afterwards where he cashed in when he went to the Kings and did well, they had a $6 million option on him. He had averaged like 12 and 12, and they still didn't want it. Like, he just has not been able to catch on anywhere aside from maybe the Lakers. But
him and AD are tight, and I think that's going to go a really long way. Plus,
the Kentucky vibe.
Yeah, I mean, plus they played together in New Orleans. Him, Boogie, I think that they absolutely have, some formation of a brotherhood there after their season in New Orleans. I mean, that squad overachieved. No one really expected much from them. I think it was until Boogie's injury, they were looking fantastic in the playoffs. Didn't they knock out with just AD and Rondo? They knocked the Trailblazers out.
Yeah, and they were pretty close to taking out the Warriors too. I think they got 2 games off them. I'm pretty sure.
Do you think that year that Rondo got hurt when he was on the Bulls, when they were playing the Celtics in the first round, they had the advantage, and then he got hurt, and then we just steamrolled over them.
Oh yeah, they were up like 2-0, right?
Bulls are convinced if he didn't get hurt, they would have won, and I wouldn't have been surprised. Rondo destroyed us in that first 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean,
when motivated Rondo is such a good Rondo, but you just don't get that. You get that like 20 games a season, it feels like.
But when it's on, oh man, that Heat game, when you get 46 points, it's like
he was like hitting threes.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite games I ever watched as a Celtics fan was Rondo trading buckets with LeBron in that game.
That was unbelievable. Pierce, back away. It's Rondo's time.
Crazy.
Usually Rondo, you're like giving him all the space in the world. Like, it's funny to watch defenses guard him because like they don't even like the guy who guards him is always playing like halfway towards Rondo. It's like,
He's actually become a better shooter than what he once was, but he's still not like a real threat from shooting threes.
He used to have such open shots too because of the team that he played for, that Celtics team. Be like wide open three and he'd just clank it.
What did you guys? I have an off-topic question here. What do you guys think of the Kobe Jordan relationship?
That was pretty good. I didn't realize they had a brother like. They said it was a brother-like bond or whatever. I didn't realize they were that close, but I thought that was kind of crazy when you could see Jordan calling out that Kobe was going to be that guy that was going to like just take it against everyone. So it was kind of cool that, well, he could recognize talent once, but as a GM, he's never been able to recognize it. So he's able to see it in Kobe.
Yeah, one time.
It's also kind of crazy in that All-Star game, though. Like this young Laker guy, who was Kobe, like 19, 20 at that time? And like they already knew this was going to be the guy that takes over. I didn't know he was that good at like 20. I knew, in the early 2000s, he was unbelievable, but I didn't know he was that good.
Yeah, he made the All-Star team at 19. Like, it was nuts.
Yeah,
his second year in the league.
Shaq won those 3 Finals MVPs, and I think you could definitely say he was the best player on that Lakers team. But maybe towards that last season, Kobe actually started overtaking him. That last championship they got. You look at the numbers, and Kobe was absolutely unconscious.
The numbers on the playoffs total were like equal too. I remember seeing them like head to head. They were both like 30 points a game and whatever. But yeah, Kobe did start to get better. And then once he did, he was like, okay, I got to have my own team. It's like the Jordan thing.
I always kind of overrated Phil Jackson. So I'm like, all right, he had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Kobe, Shaq. Like, how good of a coach could he have been? It's kind of like Joe Torre. He's always coached like great teams. But he really did do a good job of managing all the personalities. Like each player he had to treat differently, and they all respected that. Like him letting them, like Jordan said, we need to go, play golf just to get our mindset for the playoffs. Like, I don't know if Brad Stevens would be doing that right now. And like the Rodman stuff going to Vegas.
No way. It'd be like getting layup line, guys.
Exactly. He's kind of testing Jordan a lot. Like, you're going to practice with the second team today, make him pissed off, calling fouls, get him really pissed off. I think it's interesting because that goes unnoticed.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy that he could just let Rodman go off and do his thing in the middle of the season, whereas he like rides Jordan's ass. He's just a completely different coach based on the personality. And he could get through to Rodman based off like the Native American, history that he was enthralled with. He was like calling him a backwards man and stuff. It's like, wow, this guy has to know Native American history to be able to bond with Rodman, but shit, he knows it. So I don't know. Phil, I agree too, because it's like the Bulls had done nothing till he got there, and then they just like win 6 championships out of nowhere. So it's like they didn't just like get Pippen, and they didn't just like get all these players. Like Phil Jackson, you could arguably say was like the biggest difference maybe from the 90 Bulls that lost with who is the coach that they fired?
Doug Collins. And
Doug Collins.
Doug Collins, man. And I think he was a good coach, but at the same time, Phil Jackson was obviously a much better coach. And his philosophy, the triangle offense, I mean, he just instilled that winning culture. I think obviously Jordan gets rings without Phil Jackson. I think he's going to win some championships with Doug Collins or any other coach you pretty much slide in there. But do I think he wins 6? Absolutely not. I don't think it's even
6 is just such a powerful number. Like that's like really what gets you in all this. You're like, this guy could have had 8 straight championships if he didn't stop. And the fact that he has 6 out of, it's basically like he played 6. He played pieces of those other 2 years. If he had played those years, you probably figure he has those championships. So the fact that he went 6 for 6 is just.
He probably would have won when he went to play baseball. And I don't see that team losing the next year after he retired. I mean, I know that the Spurs kind of, Duncan and Robinson was great, but like they took out the Jazz. They won more games than they did the year before.
Like, I remember when it was a crazy feat for the Detroit Pistons to go to the Eastern Conference Finals 7 straight years. And it's like, you look at that as like a huge accomplishment. I think they only won 1 title out of that, but they made the Eastern Conference Finals already. And it's like to go there and then win it every single year is just ridiculous.
They won 2 titles, right? The Pistons?
Yeah.
The Pistons won 2, yeah.
I secretly love the Pistons. Like, everyone like hates on them, but like it was the backcourt was like 2 Hall of Famers, but other than that, it was just a bunch of like role players and like bruisers, and they won 2 in a row. I mean, Isaiah's top 20, probably 25 player all time, and the shooting guard, I forget his name.
Joe Dumars.
He was like an all defender, good shooter, and they won 2 in a row.
Dumars built the Pistons championship team in 2004 that took the Lakers down.
Yeah. But he did make a lot of bad roster moves also. Joe Dumars, one of the not so good GMs of all time.
When he took
I'd say.
Darko
Carmelo, Wayne, Chris Bosh.
That's crazy because that draft was so good. It was like you couldn't miss, and he missed.
Imagine if Carmelo went to the Pistons that year.
Melo went to the Pistons that year. They easily win a couple more championships.
Might have more rings than LeBron right now.
He probably would.
It's possible.
You slide him into that 5, that core 5 that they had. I mean, maybe even replace him with Rasheed because we all know Rasheed's a bit of a head case. How long is he going to stick around, really? But you take Melo and you slide him into that in his prime around with a Ben Wallace down low, with a Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun, Chauncey Billups. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous.
He was everything they needed too. They needed scoring. They needed a little bit of youth. Like he would have just slotted in so well.
Yep, perfectly. And he probably would have been a better player for it too.
And you look at that versus going to New York where he just burns out, basically flames out his talent. I mean, that goes to show you, it's like if Derek Jeter was drafted by the Kansas City Royals, he has a completely different career. And sometimes these guys fall into the right situations or the wrong situations. Jordan completely made his situation, which was, part of what makes him so good is he was there for so long, started when they were nothing, and he rode it out until they were 6-time world champions. I mean,
I've got a hot take for you. Tom Brady.
yeah.
You look at Tom Brady, went to the Patriots, right? Literally embodied the Patriot way. Didn't come in with the most hype around him. No one necessarily thought entirely highly of him. But you know what? He did all the right things, and he worked harder than everyone else, and they gave him the opportunity because of that. I think if Brady was drafted to another organization, he could be a guy that we never would have really actually gotten to see play. He could have been buried on the depth chart behind some starter that he would have been better than. We look at Tom early in his career, and he wasn't lighting up scoreboards. He was a game manager.
They kept 4 quarterbacks the year that they tabbed him, the backup actually too. So you look at it in that way. If they decide to keep 3 quarterbacks, which is what they always do pretty much, then he's not on that team, and he's a free agent who may be a journeyman, or if he never has the success, I mean,
Right.
you got to come in and win game. I mean, and he usurped Drew Bledsoe, who had just signed a $100 million contract the year before. I mean, it was like you need to get a coach who's really Belichick was 5-13, at that point, with the Patriots, and he needed to make the right call. And he did, but how many coaches at 5-13, are going to choose to ride up the backup other than the $100 million guy that they just signed? So,
right. And how old was Bledsoe? He was still in his prime, right?
Yeah, he was.
That is like someone in today's NFL. That's like having a really like a Deshaun Watson level player.
Yeah, or like a Carson Wentz or something, and then deciding to just roll with someone else.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, exactly. You just signed him to this
because Jalen Hurts was a big college name. We've seen him on the big stage. Who was Brady?
He was pretty big in college, but he was never. They never thought of him as going to lead a franchise, be a number 1 quarterback. But if you look at his college films against,
he had a good bowl or something too.
Great games against great teams, but he was just this tall, skinny, lanky guy that
would play one half a game too with Drew Henson.
Drew Henson never went to Michigan. I bet Brady would have got drafted in the 3rd, 2nd round, 4th round, because he was the starter, but they just had to have Drew Henson be the starter.
That was weird. They would just pick one or the other, and then if they had a good half or something, they'd keep playing. That must have been so hard to adjust, based on when you're going to play and when you're not.
Especially if you're the first guy.
You're only having a half. All right, you got to be great.
If you're the first guy, you make one mistake, you're out.
Yeah, you're like, oh crap, Brady's coming in.
And that's part of what made Brady so great is he had to deal with Henson over his shoulder. He had to perfect himself because he knew there was a guy that everyone universally thought had more talent, could run, could scramble. It's just there's had all the arm talent in the world, and that definitely made Brady a tougher player, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. So it seems like they obviously I'm kind of talking NFL now, but Dalton obviously is with the Cowboys. I mean, ESPN is going to try to drive it down our throats that Cam Newton should be here, but that's never going to happen. It seems like the Pats have been set on Stidham for quite some time now.
Yeah, I was just about to go there.
It's crazy, but I mean, I remember in the preseason, he was lighting it up. He had that one, he threw one bad pass, and then everyone just thinks of it as that bad pass. But I think Belichick and McDaniels have thought fairly high of him the whole year, and it got better and better as it went on.
They're putting a ton of trust in him to be able to take on this offense without, being able to have the reps in the regular season. So they're putting a ton of trust in him based off the practices. And they said that last year, because of the elbow for Brady, he was able to practice a lot with the ones. So this is something where it was for me, I never had the confidence on Jimmy Garoppolo, but because Brady or because Belichick had the confidence, I had it. And it's kind of like another one where it's like we have to trust Bill that based off his evaluations, he thinks that Stidham is better than any of these guys you could bring off the street.
I mean, he wants to win he wants to win with a quarterback on a rookie contract. Like, he didn't think Brady was going to go as long as he did, and he wanted Garoppolo to be that guy. And like, you could see it like year 2 and year 3, like, you know, it just, he loved Garoppolo. And I don't know if it was more so he loved Garoppolo, just the fact that he could build a team, not pay a quarterback money like Mahomes. Wentz just got paid, but like Deshaun Watson just got paid. But you can win without paying a quarterback.
I think he wants to create a team a la the like Jacksonville Jaguars of a couple years ago, where like they hadn't had to pay their quarterback yet. They have a defensive secondary that's number 1 in the league, so they can shut down some of those high octane passing offenses, and they ultimately win on running the ball a lot more and being able to stop the pass. So we'll see.
Who would you rather have right now, Josh Allen or Jared Stidham?
I would probably have to say Josh Allen because we haven't seen Stidham. But I mean, I want to have, I would probably. It's almost like I'd rather have Stidham because Belichick trusted him, and like I haven't like Josh Allen. I don't know. I feel like he can't hit his spots. He's big. He's like a running back kind of, but he doesn't hit his spots, I feel like. So I'm interested to see how a receiver like the one that they picked up in the offseason, Stephon Diggs is going to fit in over there because he's going to be pissed off when he's running some crisp routes and then the ball ends up at his feet or over his head.
Alex, what do you think? Who would you rather have?
I think that I would probably – it depends on who the coach is, what the system is. Clearly, the Patriots identified that Stidham is a fit for their system. This is definitely a situation where if I'm Bill Belichick, I want Stidham. Having said that, I think Josh Allen is absolutely like prototype for like the QB build in Madden. Big, strong, fast, cannon arm. But as we've seen, that's not necessarily what actually wins Super Bowls. So I think
where do you guys think Cam will end up?
He's gonna be the Rams quarterback. He's gonna take over for Goff.
All right.
I honestly think it's weird that the Redskins haven't signed him. It's just like Dwayne Haskins. Why? Like he wasn't Rivera's guy. He came in after. He looked absolutely terrible last year. So why can't you bring Cam in on a 1-year deal and have Dwayne Haskins learn out under him?
I think they're afraid that's going to make Haskins crap his pants, I think, and like F up his development.
Yeah, let's also pump the brakes here. I mean, we're talking about Dwayne Haskins. The guy threw, 50 touchdowns at Ohio State. He's got a ton of talent. He was dealing with an offensive line and a team who didn't believe in their head coach. I mean, you've got to give him a chance under Ron Rivera before you even start looking into other options. I think that they just brought in Kyle Allen to be the backup quarterback, so they've got a solid option to go to, someone who's got a little bit more seasoning, especially in Ron Rivera's offense already. I don't really see a reason for them to go ahead and bring in a Cam Newton in Washington, especially when you're trying to build a roster from the ground up where you're in a situation that you've got youth on your side, you've got a coach who's a great coach and instilling a new culture. Why bring over a guy that was so injury prone and add him into the mix and create some sort of a controversy, especially when Newton's very open about saying he's not going to join anywhere unless he's given the starting position. That's not necessarily a great attitude to build around, especially not with a rookie quarterback.
And he's not nearly good enough to be able to command that starting position, flat out. If Andy Dalton has to be a backup in this league, I mean, for my money, I think I would have rather had Dalton over the two of them if I could have picked.
For Cam in the past, he was unbelievable with the Panthers. I don't know why they ever got rid of Ted Ginn, by the way. Cam was at his best when they were streaking those wide receivers down the field, and he was chucking the rock up as deep as he could, and Ted Ginn was running under it.
Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah. Just trotting around down low with his beer belly.
What did that guy call him? The Monday night announcer?
He's a tight end. I know they call him a tight end.
There was kind of like a racial comment. Said like a corn something. I forget, but it was like a big deal. But like he was just so lazy. Kelvin Benjamin. Why was he a receiver? He's a tight end. He's OJ Howard.
God, he was so big. He ate his way out of the league.
Yeah. The problem was he wasn't a tight end. He had the prototype ability to become a tight end. He didn't work out. He didn't want to lift weights. He didn't want to run. I mean, he could have been whatever he wanted to. If you give me that body and I work out 6 days a week, I'd probably be one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL. The truth is, Kelvin Benjamin didn't give a crap. He got paid, got lazy, and shit his career away. I don't know if I can say that on the podcast. My apologies.
You can say whatever you want.
That's all right. We'll let it pass.
You don't have anyone to edit that out.
Yeah, crap. I forget what we were talking about, but
I mean, Cam Newton. Yeah, like he's obviously coming from an injury. He's 30 years old. His like claim to fame is obviously he's an athletic quarterback. He's not like a great passer, but I don't know. I look around the league at some of these quarterbacks and I'm like, bring him in, see if he can win the contest. If he can't win the job, he can't win the job. But like if you're Jacksonville, like why is Gardner Minshew the quarterback? That makes like zero sense to me.
Who would you rather have, Gardner Minshew or Cam?
I mean, I think they're trying to tank for Trevor Lawrence. So
yeah.
But that team could like make the playoffs. They have a good defense. Like, what is the harm if Gardner Minshew is not your future, anyways?
If they're getting rid of Leonard Fournette, then they're trying to tank. If they keep Fournette, they're trying to win, and they're giving Minshew a chance. If they get rid of Fournette, then I think at that point you have to look at the Jaguars and say they're not setting this kid up for a chance of success. They've got DJ Chark on the outside. They drafted a wide receiver in the draft who's supposed to be pretty good. But sorry, what were you about to say?
I was about to say, it feels like Leonard Fournette's been on the block for a while. Like, he said that he wanted to be traded or something. Like, I feel like at least a month ago, and nothing's happened.
I
Seems like he's just kind of
probably a lot of character issues that's not being talked about. Remember, like when Des Bryant, there was an unknown video that no one wanted to release, and like that's why the Cowboys cut him. I could pitch Leonard Fournette. It seems like a head case.
Well, you look at the way everyone on that Jaguars team acted, from Jalen Ramsey to you've got their DN freaking out, tweeting the team owner, telling him he wants him off the team. What's that guy's name? Their DN, their all-star DN.
Oh, starts with an O. I forget. He didn't even get traded.
No, I was going to say Francis Ngannou. That's the NCAA, that MMA fighter. Regardless, you got a serious culture issue, and that was brought in by Tom Coughlin being a hard, you know what, to the whole team. All these young players coming down hard on him, and he pushed them. He pushed them too far. He pushed them to the point where they stopped caring. They felt that Tom Coughlin came in and ruined what they had built. Because if you remember, Tom Coughlin actually came in the year after Doug Marrone had that great season where he coached them in his first year to that championship against the Pats. And then after that, they brought in Tom Coughlin thinking he would bring them over the hump. And Coughlin just single-handedly, I think, tore them down and pushed all the best players away.
Yeah, it feels like you always can get like too old to like evaluate certain talent, right? Like the guys who try to come back, too many times, like after taking time off. Like we've seen like Parcells do it. We've seen like other guys do it, like Joe Gibbs, Art Shell. Anytime you take off like that long, I feel like you're probably going to be missing some time. Seems like Marshawn Lynch is talking about coming back again. Do you guys think they should put like a limit on like how many times you can retire and come back? Like I was just thinking, I think this is like the third time this guy's coming back from retirement at this point.
Marshawn can come back whenever he wants. He's great. Even if just for interviews.
He had like 30 carries for like 60 yards and like 4 touchdowns, they said, in the playoffs last year. I mean, strictly just like a touchdown vulture at this point. He's a big boy, though.
Oh man, I don't even know
Thumper.
where to start with Sean. He's just unbelievable, man. I actually had a coach in college told me he played for. I'm not going to say who his name on here, but he had a shot with the Bills. He was in camp, and I was like, "So why didn't you make it? Why'd they cut you?" He was like, "Man, I was just smoking blunt out in the range all day," and I was like, "Oh man, who are you smoking with?" And he was like, Marshawn. Legendary story. I mean, the guy is just a freak, but obviously years are catching up to him. There's a lot of tread on those tires. I think this would have to be his last year, right, guys? Like you can't.
I thought it had to be his last year, like when he was done at the end of the road, like the last time he was retired. So I mean, it's like I thought he was done before he went to the Raiders. So,
He didn't have that bad of a year with the Raiders. Like, how old was he? 34, 30, not that old, 32.
I don't know. I know Frank Gore's going to be 37.
But watch out that he's on the Jets now.
He's now been on every team. He's doing the AFC East tour.
Low-key story, Frank Gore could be the all-time leading rusher in the NFL if he gets 2,000 more yards rushing.
And no one talks about him as like an all-time great back because he's kind of like oh God, who's the second baseman for the Astros? Craig Biggio. He just played forever. And he got 3,000 hits. Like
Another stat about him too is he's led the team that he's been on in rushing every single year that he's played. So whatever team he's been on, he's led that team in rushing. You can look it up. He's going to be 37.
Well, it's going to come to an end this year unless they trade Lev Bell.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, they got somebody to block for him, didn't they? That enormous guy that ran the fast 40.
What was he?
And his father was like 500 pounds, he looked like.
Mekhi Becton.
Yes, Mekhi Becton.
Yes, monster.
That guy can just move. That guy should just move like that that guy should just start sprinting when they hike the ball every time like that. I feel like just knock everyone down and just run through whatever hole that guy makes.
Nightmare as a dude to look across and see that freak.
It's crazy to see that he's like faster than Tom Brady or, just nuts. Faster than us. So
Frank, if Singletary the back in Buffalo, the young kid, if he didn't come back healthy, he got 600 yards last year. Like once Singletary came back, he got carry here, carry there. Well, the Dolphins played 14 games. He had 720 yards. An average 4.6 yards a carry. In 2006, 5.4 yards a carry, 1,700 yards. His numbers are ridiculous.
This is Gore, right?
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't had 1,000 yards since 2016, but he had 9. He almost had 1,000 in 17. In 18, he only played 14 games. And last year, he probably would have got 700-800 yards if it wasn't for Singletary. And he is
what a stud.
He's 36.
That guy had a ton of knee injuries in college, and then he's been healthy in the NFL. It's weird. Usually, if you got injuries in college, you're screwed.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, look at Willis McGahee.
Willis pulled off a couple decent years.
Yeah, with Buffalo,
even destroying his knee the way that he did. Yeah.
They beat us, but he was the backup running back for the Ravens. Him and Ray Rice.
Yep.
God, what a tandem!
Was that the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl?
I think so. Look it up.
Wow, I didn't realize Willis McGahee got a ring. Good for him.
Did Willis McGahee get a ring?
That's a great question.
He deserves one.
He does.
For that knee injury.
Yeah.
Well, the
Adrian Peterson.
I don't think he ever won one.
No, he didn't.
He actually had some really good years. Wow, I didn't know that. 4,000-yard years.
Wow, he made the Pro Bowl with Denver. I didn't realize that.
2011, he had 1,200 yards.
Denver, that zone blocking scheme Shanahan had, man, it was just clockwork. Whatever running back you had in there, Ron Dane, Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee.
Orlando Scary.
Yeah, you could plug in anybody. You could take anyone off the street, throw them behind that zone blocking team, and they'd run for 1,000 yards.
I honestly thought Fournette would have been a good team for him to go to.
Fournette?
Yeah, for the Broncos this year. I thought that would have been a great pairing, the young quarterback. They have good young receivers, but I feel like Broncos always have good running backs. Like, who the heck's the guy who made a Pro Bowl 2 years ago, the small white kid, the undrafted guy?
Peyton Lindsey. He's still there. Philip Lindsay. He's still there.
He's good.
Yeah.
They drafted Noshawn Moreno. He sucked. But
yeah, he did.
Yeah, but wasn't he a first-round pick?
I think so.
Yep. 20-something overall.
He had a good year though, didn't he? He had 1 year where he ran for all these touchdowns, didn't he?
I think that was the same year that who's the running back we drafted? The really terrible one with the dreadlocks.
Lawrence Maroney.
Really terrible one with the dreadlocks.
God, he was so bad.
He was so bad. I remember they were making all the rookies they had to shave their head, and he refused to. He wanted to keep his dreads, so he shaved his eyebrows. And then he came and visited Providence College or whatever. And I remember these girls had pictures with him, and he's just mean mugging, and he's got no eyebrows.
He never had a 1,000-yard season.
Oh, he was trash. He was good those first 2 years.
Oh, not really. 700 and 800.
Yeah, but he probably ran for 4.5 yards a carry. It was behind Corey Dillon. So what are you gonna do?
Wait, was he 2006, 2007? Corey Dillon wasn't there. Or maybe his first year.
He was definitely behind Corey Dillon 1 year. But that is going to do it for us here on Open Season, fellas. Appreciate it. Catch you next week.
Thanks for having me, Billy.
Yeah.
All right. Later, guys.
Awesome.